Before we begin today's episode, we wanted to share an update from our team. Dr. Pedro Carvalho has accepted a position with the University of Georgia as an assistant professor in beef cattle extension and will no longer be with our AgNext team. He also will no longer host our podcast. Are you going to have a podcast at Georgia?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe. All right. You may be able to tune in to Pedro at University of Georgia. Despite how sad I am about Pedro leaving the AgNext team, we are excited to announce that Dr. John Ritten, who is the Director of Grazing Land Research and Engagement, will be stepping in as our new host. And for those of you who have never met John, he is as tall as Pedro. So we're not losing any height on the podcast.
Not quite as tall. He's got 1.5 inches on me.
Okay, but we're close.
We're close.
We're close.
Yeah, so I do have big shoes to fill. He has bigger feet than me too. So thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here and join this podcast, but also bittersweet to see Pedro leave. Although I do regain my status as the tallest member on the team. So it's a small win for me.
It's true. It's true. Thank you, Pedro, for everything you've done for our team and the podcast. I'm going to miss you.
Thank you. It has been fun, and I will definitely miss here. I've learned a lot doing this, and it's for sure one of the best things that we've done here. So I will miss this a lot, but I'm excited that John will be here. He can ask as many questions as I usually do. So that's great, and I'm sure I will come back as a guest someday. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. And always, be here listening to what is next from AgNext. Thank you.
Now, let's get into today's episode. Hello and welcome to another episode of the AgNext Podcast, where we are always excited to tell you about what's next from AgNext. Today, we will be speaking with the Department Head of Animal Sciences at Colorado State University, Dr. Patrick Doyle. Let's get into it.
To start us off, could you introduce yourself a little bit and share a brief overview of your background, including your current role as the head of Department of Animal Sciences here at Colorado State University?
Yeah. So first, thank you for the invitation to discuss with you. So I am Patrick Doyle. I'm the Department Head for Animal Sciences. I grew up in Texas. I'm born and raised, except for 3 years that I spent in Mexico in the late 70s, which really was a great opportunity. It just reinforced my interest in agriculture. I always say I was raised ag adjacent. In other words, I was always looking for ways to ride horses, chase cows, let's just say herd cows, from a very young age. And I was lucky enough to have a mentor, family friend who ran cows. Back in my family tree, we were a bunch of land barons and feed mill operators. And at some point somewhere around my great grandfather, that kind of changed. But I had the opportunity to really have some influential mentors, and our family friend, every summer I spent on a horse working cows, and that just reinforced this kind of passion for Western culture. And not having been raised on a ranch directly, I always try to figure out, what am I going to do? How am I going to be able to do this as a career? And as many of our students do, I thought pre-veterinary medicine. Ended up at Texas A&M, followed that route till I think I was a senior, and I was fortunate enough to have an advisor, Dr. John Greathouse, who essentially asked, what did I really want to do? And I said, I really just want to breed cows. And he goes, you can do that without being a DVM. And so he was a really good example of an advisor thinking about their student and helped me identify all sorts of other avenues. I had, job opportunities, but in particular, he really helped share what grad school could do for me in terms of having someone else pay for my education. I would still get to breed cows ultimately in the end. And that's actually what led me here ultimately, as I did my graduate work here at Colorado State University. I did my master's and PhD in animal breeding and genetics. That led to a short career in breed association work with the American Galvy Association, where a door opened, and I ended up being asked if I wanted to teach in California at California State University, Chico. I was there for 23 years before coming out here as department head for animal sciences. So it's kind of a coming home opportunity that I couldn't pass up, and I would really like to finish my career here. Now, as department head, my role really is to lead the department. Of course, it's got all the financial piece, the strategic planning. I really think ultimately what it is, it's about making sure students, faculty, staff have the resources to be successful in whatever their particular position is, whatever their goals are in particular with students. And one of the things I did when I interviewed here was I really focused on 3 elements: rigor, relationships, and relevance. And I see that really as my role. How do we provide a program to students to help them be successful? In other words, how do we provide high rigor, high support for our students, help prepare them for their future careers? Also building relationships. That's building relationships here within our faculty and staff group, with our students, but also with our industry partners. And I think AgNext is an excellent example of how you go about doing that. And then relevance. How do we make our department relevant to the industry? And how, in doing so, we have to be the ones who are providing them with answers to today's challenges and tomorrow's challenges.
Great. I have 3 questions that are off script.
Okay. Great.
Starting with, what did you do in Mexico for 3 years, Patrick?
Well, all I did was I went to school. I spent most of my time in the hills above Mexico City. So we were in San Miguel de Allende. My dad was an Anglican preacher in the church there. And so he had that opportunity, and my parents backed us up, and it was really a great time to be 7, 8, 9 years old, running around really with no rules. You just had to be home by dark. So
that's incredible. What an incredible experience. Mm-hmm. And then what part of Texas did you grow up in?
So Houston.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. And I had a similar experience in graduate school where, I didn't really know this whole field of graduate education existed, that you could go to school for free and work with some of the most brilliant minds around, and at the same time in a land grant be connected to incredible stakeholders. So for a plug out there for students who are thinking that a DVM may not be for them, graduate school can be an absolutely incredible option.
And I'll add to that really quick. One of the things that goes along with that is you never know who you're going to meet and who you're going to work with.
That's right.
Because even though I was a breeding and geneticist student, I had the opportunity to work with Dr. Seidel and on some of the first work on sex semen. And so that was really exciting. Again, all I wanted to do was breed cows. So ultimately my PhD ended up in that same space. So that was exciting. Awesome. It was an exciting time for that particular science.
Yeah. And the tool that is used today. Mm-hmm. That's super, super cool. So you've been in your role for a little over 2 years. You mentioned you came from California State University, Chico, where you served as the Associate Dean of the College of Agriculture. How have your experiences at Chico State shaped how you lead the department here at CSU?
So I went from one CSU to another.
I know. It's really interesting. Yeah.
One of the things I always think back is like the first year you're learning your job, the second year you're doing the job, and then third year you're either changing the job or you're making your own. And I'm in that stage now. So I served in different administrative roles and spent most of my administrative time as a chair and then as associate dean. And a lot of what I did transfers to this role. It's just on a bigger scale. So as associate dean there, I was in charge of student success. I was in charge of research development and funding for a particular state program in particular. So it was really, I had an opportunity of addressing or participating in and guiding what I would say 2 pillars of the land grant mission in terms of research and education. And so here I use a lot of what I use there in terms of relationship building, programs that help students be successful, think in terms of innovation for students. And with one of the things with land grant institutions, really any institution at this point, is there really has become a focus on undergraduate students and the undergraduate student population. And that's all I did was the undergraduate. And so I have a lot of background in undergraduate research programs, which our department is really starting to look at and really kind of hang its hat on in terms of being able to provide those opportunities for students. So it really is, it's a very similar job. It's just at a much greater scale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as a California native, Chico State is known for its undergraduate research program and its undergraduate program broadly, in fact.
Yeah, we were fortunate because that's really, we have graduate students, but nothing like a land grant.
Sure.
And so most of your research gets done through undergraduate student opportunities. And while I was there, we were fortunate enough to build programs that provided stipends for students to be able to complete research projects. And again, at that time, right before I left too, we were creating a pipeline into graduate programs. So for instance, Chico State works with New Mexico State on essentially a pipeline for their undergraduate students to graduate school.
Yeah, really, really innovative work.
So as a non-California native, since you've come back to the better of the CSU systems.
To home.
Yes, back home.
Back home.
I'm also alum of CSU, so go Rams. What have been some of the most rewarding experiences for you coming back into this role and seeing some of those maybe experiences, opportunities you didn't have at Chico State?
So one of the biggest differences for me was the amount of external relation work and working with stakeholders. My work was so focused on the students and research, but research from a faculty perspective in terms of faculty development. And so that was one of the things about the job that really interested me, was the opportunity to really engage with our external partners, our stakeholders. And that's probably one of the things I've enjoyed the most. I didn't think that it would be the highlight, but I really enjoy getting out. And not that it wouldn't be a highlight in terms of, I don't want to do this. It's more of the, just the opportunities that exist to get out and go talk and visit and really learn what our industry, the Colorado livestock industry, what their needs are, what their challenges are. And so I've really come to really enjoy that and try to take those opportunities as often as I can to get out and visit with producers and participate in particular with associations, the Colorado Livestock Associations. The other piece, just I think given my background and because of how much time I spend on student success, I really enjoy working with students. And yes, I'm in my role, I don't have as many opportunities to work directly with students, but I relate to our student population in the sense of I was cattle adjacent or horse adjacent. It wasn't necessarily that I had this direct livestock background. And we see more and more of our students just don't have even 4-H or FFA experience in a lot of cases. And I didn't do FFA only because I had a choice. I got to do football or FFA, and I did football. Because at the time, being in Texas, I was going to make it big as a football player. As you can tell, that didn't quite work out. But that's a reality, and I'd like being able to share that story and like to help students be successful, just because I had to go through some non-traditional avenues. I worked through school. I had some of those challenges. Now, I didn't have the pandemic, right? Which really, that is one of the biggest challenges I think our students, they've had to face in their time as a student. But I think there's things we can share and learn to help them find how they can be successful, even if they don't come from an ag background. You just have to have a passion. And I think I can relate to those students and get them to really funnel that passion into success.
Yeah, absolutely. And building on that, one of the hot topics, I think, for all of us in academia, when we are going out and talking to stakeholders and learning from them what they need, the question I always get is, so what are the students like? What's the next wave of students that will be entering the workforce? What do you notice about them? What are their interests? What are they like to work with? Do they have a good work ethic? So what do you see in terms of trends of students? And I mean, even in my short time in academia, I've seen the students change. What are you seeing now?
I think one of the things that I've noticed that's much more apparent is engaging students, trying to figure out what it is that they find passion for or they're passionate about. Because I think that drives the work ethic, that drives their purpose. And I think we're all looking for purpose. And I think so many of us I was that student that thought, okay, pre-vet was the only way into agriculture.
Sure.
There's so many other opportunities.
Yeah.
And a key to helping students identify where their place is internships, undergraduate research. Help them find what their purpose is, because it may not be pre-vet. And I'm telling you, the majority of our students that come in are pre-veterinary students. And we hit a record enrollment. We're over 1,000 undergraduate students with another 48 graduate students. And again, the trends hold up, that they come in thinking pre-veterinary medicine, and it's our job to help find, yes, some of them, that's definitely the direction they're going to be in, but for a lot of them, it's just not. And we just need to help them find their purpose and where they belong, whether it's in this department or not. And I think one program that's relatively new that I think is another opportunity for us to help engage students is our livestock business management major, which which is a major shared between ag business and animal sciences, and students take classes in both. And we've got, I think our class group is up to 21 students right now. And so excited to see that grow, but I think it's an excellent opportunity for students we're teaching the next group of leaders in agriculture. And I think it's an opportunity for students to find their place.
Great.
Yeah, big shout out to LBM program, because Kim and I are actually co-teaching a class in just
Next
a few
year.
weeks now. It's going to be fun.
Will be.
So to build on that, sustainability is obviously a key focus, right? For AgNext, for the Department of Animal Sciences, for the industry as a whole. You talked a lot about, student initiatives. How do you, given that you're in that second year, third year kind of transition of making the job your own and really kind of putting your fingerprint on it, how do you plan to integrate sustainability into curriculum for students? That could be, in the classroom, or maybe some of these undergraduate research opportunities you've talked about that are also really important, and also support those research initiatives throughout the department, through your faculty and staff as well.
So there's a couple of things I was thinking about this earlier today. That one, sustainability is embedded in our curriculum now. I think we just have to do a better job of highlighting that, this is regenerative, this is sustainable. But that's one part, because we do that well. We just need to highlight it. It's like, our faculty do amazing things. We just got to be better communicators about what we're doing and how you apply it. Often I think in our industry, we just take some of those things for granted because they're just our everyday practices. And so I think that's one thing, just to tie into AgNext, is I think it helps put in, yes, the things we are doing are sustainable. They are regenerative. There are actual sustainable solution to the production, right? And we've been doing it. Maybe we do it better, but we've been doing some of the things right. And I think that's what we need to be teaching in our class. So embedded in the curriculum is one of the big ones. The other one that's happening recently that we're hopefully to gain some momentum is the Department for Soil and Crop Sciences has proposed a regenerative food systems major. And I don't see how you can have said major without having sustainable animal production somewhere in that program, right? And so we're looking at those opportunities to participate in that major, including a food animal concentration. So I think that, again, that's just another step. And I think there's a lot of students that will gravitate toward that program, just like they did livestock business management, in terms of finding their place.
Yeah, I'm excited about that major. And I think just to build on that, John, I mean, the number of times that we give guest lectures as a team, I did one this morning, an AEQ 131, which is Libby's BQA class, which was really fun. And I spent an hour just talking about how important quality assurance programs are to sustainability. And I think you're right, Patrick. I don't think we talk about that integration enough. I also think it's hard, right, to really describe that in the level, the depth, right, that is required to actually get folks to understand that we are embedding this in the curriculum in a meaningful way.
Right. And John, you had a second part about the, integrate in terms of support for research. I think one of the best examples is AgNext. And I only bring that up because when I think about how do you integrate those elements into curriculum and research, you really have to have the interdisciplinary teams. And I think, that's another advantage to where I can see the department and AgNext working together, is that I think there's some collaboration there. And you are drawing from different departments and different expertise and different disciplines. I think that's being able to support that effort is one way the department can definitely help support that research effort. The other one that I'm really interested in, I keep bringing it up, is the undergrad and graduate opportunities in terms of internships and research. Because I think that's just, another opportunity to help provide support to get the research done. And one, we're educating students, but then we're also getting the work done, and we're getting it done as a team, an interdisciplinary team, as a collaboration. And then finally, I think one piece, and again, as a department, we need to do better, but communicate and outreach, improve our outreach and our communication of what we're doing and how we're doing and why we're doing it, and how is it going to address today's challenges and tomorrow's challenges.
Yeah, I agree. So Patrick, you mentioned a little bit here talking about how animal science and AgNext work together. Easy, because we share so many faculty members between animal science and AgNext. But how do you see that growing? What are you excited about? The collaborations that you see? Where are there additional opportunities? I know one thing I hear, and I know you hear from, and John hears as well from stakeholders, is, don't be siloed, don't duplicate. So what are you excited about?
So I think it's an opportunity. I think we have an opportunity to collaborate, especially given, limited resources, changing financial situations, an opportunity for us to rethink our programmatic needs and how can we, as both AgNext and the department, collaborate and join forces or resources to be able to essentially deliver a more current, and I won't say futuristic, but a program that's going to address future challenges. And I think that collaboration in combining resources allows us to think broad about what our discipline, our faculty positions are as we work with other departments and even other colleges, and how we're actually working together, not working in the silos, but actually sharing our disciplines. The other thing that I think is again, it's another opportunity for both students within other departments is this, I can't say it enough, the internship and the undergrad research opportunities. I think that's just the number of individuals that we have that are looking for those kinds of experiences. Again, that internship, that undergrad research project could be what changes a person's career trajectory. And I think it's important not to forget that.
Okay, so to build on that, our mission at AgNext is to identify and scale sustainable solutions for animal agriculture, and that's pretty important to me as a recovering administrator, AS director at the University of Wyoming. We study our little postage stamp fields right to death, so we know everything that happens on that half acre. But if we can't translate that to the real world, it's not really going to solve a lot of the problems, I don't think. And so CSU has a pretty strong emphasis on research as well as extension and engagement, right, with our community partners. So how do you envision your department's role in advancing that agriculture research? You've kind of talked about a little bit, getting us, ready for what's coming next, and then extending that knowledge to producers so that we can actually impact the industry at large. So,
and I mentioned this earlier, we have to be better communicators in what we do and where we share. People's methods of absorbing new information, a lot of it comes from social media, whatever can be delivered on an online platform in terms of phones. And so I think we have to rethink how we're sharing that information, because I really think the department is that bridge between the great research, the applied research that we're doing, and the application. So how do we get it to that point? And that's developing relationships, working with external partners. But again, it keeps going back to letting people know what we do and what our needs are too, to help support their needs and, to answer some of their challenges. And so I think, this communication piece is probably one of the challenges I've taken on. Just as an example, I've worked with our communications team, college's communication team, to start thinking about how do we highlight our faculty. All too often I hear, we just don't know what you're doing. So let's put them out there and put it where we can in order so people know what we're doing. How's our beef extension working in that beef extension space? How are we, I'll give you an example. Dr. Ahola and Dr. Katie Kramer are working on a project with student success that also has a research element relative to dairy calf health. And so these opportunities to really highlight this is some amazing work that's being done. We just need to communicate it and communicate it well.
So we've been talking a lot about what we're doing right now. I have the fun question of, what are you excited about in the future? Where do you see the department in 5 to 10 years? As you said earlier, you finish your career with Colorado State University.
That's one I sit there and everybody, you try to project, think about, okay, 5 years. 5 years is going to be here before we know it. 10 years is going to be over before we know it. And I think one of the things that, for me, thinking about when I got here, what I took in from our external partners, from our students, from our faculty and staff, I think one of the main things I would like to see is our rise to being a national leader in animal and equine science. And that when people talk about those sciences, or talk about animal sciences, they talk about equine science, that we're in that discussion. And I think to do that, one of the things that we'll see is our faculty growth, faculty success, student growth, student success. It'll be our students having meaningful careers once they leave here. That's the thing I think that excites me, is that seeing the program change, where we go from just another program in the nation to being one of the programs, if not the program in the nation in terms of animal science and equine science.
Yeah, I love that goal.
It's great. Okay, spin it back around to the beginning a little bit here. You've talked a lot about student success, student experiences, and talked about how you were DVM pre-vet, right, until someone maybe steered you back in the correct direction where you could have I think, bigger, better impact. Talk a little bit about mentorship, what it means to you, how it's impacted you, and how it helped get you to where you are today.
Yeah, I'd say I wouldn't be here without the mentorship I received along the way. I mean, starting out as a kid, as I mentioned, a family friend is really the one that made sure I stayed engaged with the livestock industry growing up. And that led into, I will tell you, it's just, the advisor sending me here and then having those mentors here to help me get what my next step was. And, when I was here as a graduate student, I didn't necessarily think about teaching. I enjoyed it. I got to teach here as a PhD student. But I hadn't really thought of it as a career. And so, I went into the American Galvey Association. I was their director for research and youth programs. And I wasn't there very long, because it didn't take long for an individual who I had just happened to meet at one of my scientific meetings, Dr. Dave Daly. He was at Chico State. He gave me a call and he asked if I'd be interested in just coming out to California. Never thought I'd move to California, but for 2 years, that's all it was. A guaranteed just try teaching out. And I that door opened and I stayed there for 23 years. So you never know who those individuals might be that are going to end up being those mentors. And I wouldn't be in the situation I'm in without Dave Daly along the way as well, and others. But really just guiding my career kind of along the way. And kind of the same, when I applied, I wasn't looking for a job when I applied for the department head position. But people I've met along the way just let me know that it was a potential, there was a position open, and I believe it was open in 2019, and I had been asked to apply at that point too, and it just wasn't a good time for me. But this time it was, I'm not going to retire soon, but I'm getting to that point where I'm thinking this is a great opportunity. There was it was going to be a challenge. It was going to be different than the position I had before, but I got to get back to a program that I really admired when I was here as a student. And so, again, whether it was graduate school, leaving the American Galvey Association, mentors have always been there to help me in my next step. And you never know who those are going to be. Sometimes it's just Dave Daly was an acquaintance and then ended up, being a really strong mentor along the way. And so it's a valuable piece. I try to return that with individuals, and in a department head, it's a little, now it's more of an administrative mentorship, but that was one thing I really enjoyed about my position previous to this as a faculty member is we were talking about undergraduate research. I mentored 24 students a semester for undergraduate research back in the day, and really enjoyed it. And you may not believe it. If you have the opportunity to mentor, you will have an impact.
Yeah, it's a special opportunity that we have at the university for sure. So we always ask our podcasts invitees this question: how do you define sustainability? And there's no right or wrong answer. Don't feel pressure.
Well, no, I was thinking about this because I'm always thinking about, regenerative ranching, livestock production. And I really do think it's a way of raising animals that helps protect our resources. And it's not just our natural resources. It's also talking about supporting healthy animals, healthy communities, and leaving the land better than we found it for future generations. I mean, we're talking about soil management, we're talking about water management, and we're talking about economies. That's all part of sustainability.
Yeah, I love that definition. Thank you, Patrick, for being on our podcast. And thank you to our listeners for joining us on another episode of the AgNext Podcast. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, X, LinkedIn, and Instagram. If you have comments, suggestions, or feedback that you would like to give us, please send us an email to agnext.colostate.edu, and we'll do our best to get back to you as soon as we can.